Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Here in Australia, it's Australia Day on the day I'm publishing this video. Isn't that a nice way, day? What I'm going to be doing here is taking a quick look at my 7 handmade Australian pens. So we've got 6 which were hand-turned resin and 1 which is 3D printed. Join me now down on the table. Let's take a quick look at these pens. Welcome down to the table. So my Australian handmade pens. We start with the Platypus pens Model 10. 3D printed pen. Beautiful colour this. I love green, so I went for green. So it's got a number of different patterns for actually printing this out. Got loads of different colours. If you contact him, he'll be able to talk you through what he's got and help you pick. Then he makes them to order. Very nice. One of the things I like with this, you can just about see there when I put it down. Just going to slightly twist it. It's got a weight in it. So the weight's down here, which helps to stop it from rolling. So even though it doesn't have a clip and it doesn't have a roll stop, this weight does help stop that. All the other pens today, they don't have clips, but they don't have this little bit of weight in it. And I think that's a nice little addition. So everything about this is 3D printed, apart from the nib, obviously, and the converter. So here's a converter. Again, we've got plastic here. I'm not sure. I would think you could eyedropper this. I don't intend to try. I do like the little white highlights, so I think they really fetch out that green. The nib is a Yoho nib. All today's pens but 2 have got Yoho nibs on. I'll tell you the 2 that are different. This is a broad. In the hand, very nice. The section, it's a lot smoother. You can still feel though the layers where it was 3D printed, which helps you get a nice grip on the pen. It will post. I don't bother with it posted though. I find unposted it's quite nice. So we've got here a Platypus. I'm just going to turn this around because the issues, they were because of the angle I was writing at. Let's move this down so we can get the whole line. So let's try this better. That's better. Platypus Model 10 with a broad nib. This is a problem when I'm doing these videos. I have to film at a really weird angle. So that's why I've started now most of the time turning it around. Now the prices I'm quoting, these are the prices I paid for the pens. They may no longer be that price. Chances are they've gone up. I've had some of these a couple of years, but all I can do is really give you the price I know about. So that's why I quote that. So that's $170 when I bought it. The ink is by Diamine. And it's Spruce. This is a scented ink. Let's do our wasky squirrel grid. So up and down, side to side. There's a grid and then diagonals. Filling this really well. Ink flowing really nicely out of this nib. Drying times, there's immediate, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute. After a minute, that's fairly wet. Now, I'm not going to do any 2-minute tests. I have found, though, that scented inks do tend to be quite wet anyway. So, yeah, not a combo if you want to be doing quick note-taking. One of the things I'm noticing more through my camera preview than by my eye is there appears to be quite a lot of a red sheen in here as well. So that's something, to be honest, I've not really noticed before, but not something I've looked for. But on here, you know, when I was doing that writing, on my preview, I'm seeing loads of red rather than the green I'm expecting. So that's a Platypus Model 10. What I'll have to do is move this up with each pen that I use. Next up, from Brisbane, we've got the Just Turnings Mimas. The Mimas models, they're all using resins that Stephen's poured himself. This one's called Black Copper. It's got some really nice materials. You can go to his website and have a look. As well as this, he's got the Enceladus line, which we'll look at a couple of those in a minute. The ones I've got, they're using Bloke's blanks, but I believe there are other different makers that he has, so you can actually choose which you want. Very nice though. Another one is a cartridge converter. There we go. The reason why I'm agitating this is we've got a shimmer ink in here. In fact, all the rest of today's are either shimmer or chameleon, so I'll be agitating them all. Again, it's all plastic fittings. I wouldn't think about eyedropping though. Not because I don't think you can, but I just can't see. If it had an ink window, I might do. Nice section. We've got an hourglass shape there. That fits really well. This is a Yoho nib. I went for the black coated version, which I think fits well with the rest of the pen. Very nice, very comfortable in the hand. Nice length. Doesn't post. I believe if you contact Stephen, if you want a pen that posts, I think he can actually do that for you, but you'd have to ask him. But this doesn't post. I don't care. I don't post my pens anyway. So we've got here a just turnings Mimas with a medium nib, a Yoho nib. Price wise, again about 170 Aussie dollars. The ink by Diamine, and it's vintage copper. Beautiful look in here, and we should hopefully have some coppery shimmer coming through. I'll have a look for that in a second. Let's do our Westy Squirrel grid. So up and down. To me, there's a lot more audible feedback coming through from this. Across. Grid. And diagonals. Drying times, so we go immediate. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. 1 minute. Again, we're still slightly wet there at 2 minutes, but not as bad as we were seeing with that Model 10. But still, when you're looking at combos, you may want to think about this. Can we see any of that shimmer coming through? I can see a little bit to my eye. Hopefully the camera's capturing it. Not a lot though, it's not a massive amount. So this is the Just Turnings Mimas. I'm just going to leave that there for 1 second because the next pen is also a Just Turnings pen, and it's a Just Turnings Enceladus. So the pen's virtually identical. Main difference is the resin maker. This one, it's by the Carolina Pen Company, so it's Jonathan Brooks, and it's called Golden Blue Jay. Again, we've got a chameleon ink in this one, so I am going to be agitating it as I'm talking about it. Virtually identical though to what we were seeing with that Mimas. Another cartridge converter. This is in a gloss finish. Stephen does offer a number of different finishes. This one is in gloss. I've got another one coming up in a couple of pens time, which is in a matte finish. Same story, nice length. This one sort of posts, goes down to about there. I don't post it though. I don't want to risk scratching this beautiful material. And here we've got a broad Yoho nib on this one. So we've got a Just Turnings. Now, let me just move this over so you can see a little bit better as I'm writing. Just Turnings Enceladus. With a broad nib. I'm going to put next to it, this is Golden Blue Jay. Price wise, when I got this was 185 Aussie dollars. Now I know these ones have gone up. This was the first Just Turnings pen that I bought, so I've had it a couple of years. I do have another one coming up shortly where the price has gone up, so again, they may have gone up since then. Check out his website. His website's got all the updated pricing on there. The ink is by Diamine, and it's Rainbow's End. Nice purple ink. What I'm going to do is not going to try hunting for the shimmer or the chameleon on the rest of the pens. I'll just tell you that it's there if there is something. Let's do our grid. I think the pen's nearly out of ink. I'm just going to see if I can prime the feed enough to get out enough to do our tests with today. Hopefully that's pushed enough ink into the nib. Can we write? Yeah. So we go up and down, side to side. So a lot of my pens today are getting quite low on ink, and I'm trying to avoid refilling them if I can. I want to get them used up and put away for a while. Here's media. Wow. But I've just primed that feed. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. 1 minute. After a minute, still slightly wet. This is wetter than normal, but I've just primed the feed, so just be aware of that. And hopefully it's coming over on the camera. We can see some of this beautiful pink coming out in the right in there, but certainly here we've got a nice big splodge of pink of that chameleon. So that's a just turn-ins Enceladus. Let's move the page up. We're going to jump to Adelaide now, to South Australia. So we've already been to Victoria, we've been to Queensland. Now we're going over to a maker who's now based in Adelaide, which is South Australia. But when I bought this, he was in Sydney, which is New South Wales. So we're travelling all over the country at the moment. This is that pen bloke, and he just calls it straight up a fountain pen. This material is one he makes himself. It's called Something Special. It was an experimental one, or when I bought it, he said it was an experimental one. I really like it. I like the purples. We've got different colours in here, yellows. I tend to keep yellow or orangey type inks in here with the occasional brown ink. Again, I'm giving it a little bit of an agitation because we've got a shimmer ink in here. So in here we've got a cartridge. There's a cartridge. We've got plenty of ink in this one at least. Again, because it's resin, everything is resin. Nice, beautiful section. Again, we've got, look at the colours on there. The section very long, very comfortable. Yoho nib on here. This is a broad nib. So we've got that pen bloke. Fountain pen. This one was $190 when I got it. That was about 18 months ago, so I would expect the price would have gone up since then. The ink is by Diamine, and it's Yuletide. No, it's not. I don't know. It's Yule log. All these Yules getting around. Beautiful, I say, brown ink this time. Let's do our grid. So up and down, side to side, grid, and diagonals. Drying times, so we go immediate. Let's try and find a cleanish finger. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. Teeny bit of a smudge, so we'll go for 1 minute. After a minute there, that's nice and dry. So we're starting to get towards a pen that we could actually use for taking notes. Here, we've got a little bit of like a coppery shimmer coming through. So that's that pen bloke. Okay, let's move this page up. So now we're going back to Brisbane and just turn-ins. Here we've got another Enceladus model pen. This one is in Brooks Blank's Elvenwood, and it's got that matte finish. Very nice. Not going to talk too much about it, because it's, you know, it is an Enceladus model. There is one difference though. On here is the nib. The nib is a Cypress, used to be called Mr. Cypress, and it's a Cypress broad nib. It's a steel nib still though. There we go. So that's the only real difference between them. So we've got here a just turn-ins, Enceladus, with a broad nib, and as I say, it's a Cypress nib. Just noticed I didn't put the details about the nib for that pen bloke. Let's just fix that. And that pen bloke, that doesn't post either. This one doesn't post either. So how much for this one? It was 195 Aussie dollars. Again, I've had it a while, so the prices will have gone up. Check on his website. The ink is by Diamine, and it's another one with Yule log. But doesn't the ink look different? It looks a lot paler here, and the line I see from this Mr. Cypress nib is a little bit narrower than what I was seeing from the Yoho nibs. You know, so we've got a Yoho nib here and here. Both of them look a lot wider than what we're seeing. This to me looks more like that medium Yoho nib. Let's do our grid. So up and down. Sideways. Grid and diagonal. Drying times. So we go immediate. That finger, I think it was. There we go. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. Nearly dry there. 1 minute. There, after a minute, that one's now nice and dry. So this is the Elvenwood. I'll just put here ELF. Move the page up a bit. We're heading back to Victoria now. So again, a maker near Melbourne. This is a Cari, and this is a hybrid model. So we've got wood, and we've got some beautiful resin there. Very pretty. Again, in here, I've got a chameleon ink, so I will agitate it. There isn't actually a lot of ink in here. This is out of ink, so I may have to dip the nib if it stops writing. I don't want to fill it again if I can avoid it, but I'm hoping there's enough in here for our writing tests. Beautiful pen though. Stunning to look at. It doesn't post. Again, there we've got the converters. You can see I've pushed that down virtually all the way to the bottom. I can still push down a little bit more if I need to. Got there the section that's resin. Very nice to hold in the hand. And yeah, I've already shown that it doesn't post. So we've got here a Cari Hybrid. This has got a broad nib, but it's a Bloke nib. It's really the first Bloke nib I've got, and I'm really enjoying it. Beautiful feedback on this. The price for this, 200 Aussie dollars. The ink is by Diamine, and it's a spiced apple. On this Ayush paper, got beautiful feedback coming from it. Let's do our grid. I'm slowly working on the tines myself. When I got this, it was quite dry, so I'm just trying to increase the flow a little bit. So I'm bit by bit working on the tines. I like to do things very, very slowly when I'm working on a nib. So this is up and down. This is side to side. So, you know, it does feel like it's catching a bit going side to side. That's something I can fix very easily next time I look at it. There's my grid, and there's my diagonals. Drying times. So here's immediate. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. 1 minute. After a minute, this one, yet another where it's still fairly wet. Now this ink, you can see here from my swipes, is like, I want to say it's a burgundy type base colour, but it's got a gold shimmer in it, or gold chameleon. It's a very strong gold chameleon though, because to me, looking at this, it looks brown, but that's all the gold coming through. So I'm just going to hold this one up. I know, yeah, I can see like a greeny, goldy type. They're coming out beautiful. But it is making, certainly on this paper, it's making my writing look fairly brown. Let's move this up. Then we'll do the last pen. So that was the Cari Hybrid. Our last maker is, again, over in Victoria, just outside of Melbourne. This is Pens by Casey, and this is the Mokuzai model. So he does a number of different models. He also uses a number of different materials. He does resins, and this particular one, this is wood. This is absolutely beautiful. It's stunning to look at. The wood is a York burl, and it grows about 100 kilometres from where I live. So that's 100 kilometres, that's what, about 60 miles-ish? You know, just a very quick calculation. So it's a local WA tree. You know, it could have grown fairly close to where I'm living now. You never know. So that's what makes this special in one respect. Beautiful pen though. Very, very nice. The section is ebonite. The whole pen, the inside there of the body and the cap lined with ebonite, means it gets a really good seal. Again, you can see very little ink in here. Hopefully we've got enough in here to do our writing sample. It's another chameleon ink. Again, like most of the others, doesn't post. So this is, yeah, let me just prime that feed a little bit. Yep, Pens by Casey. It's Mokuzai. And it's 13. And it's a broad. No, it's not. Sorry, I'm telling you a lie. It's a 1.1 stub nib. Price for this, 400 Aussie dollars. Seems like a lot. Worth every cent. The ink by Diamine. And it's Bar Humbug. My favourite saying. Bar Humbug. Humbug? Not Humbug. That's what you get for trying to write and talk at the same time, Gary. Let's do our Wasky Squirrel grid. So it's a stub nib, so you can see really filling this grid very quickly. But then when we go across, taking a lot more strokes there. So going down and then going across, you can see the difference there. Same with the diagonals. So that stub nature definitely coming out. So we go immediate. 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute. Still a little bit of wetness coming off that. As we've already seen, that's happening virtually every pen we've got at the moment. Now this ink, it's a fairly dark purple ink. And hopefully you might be able to see this. I'm just going to try and show this one. Certainly coming out here where I was drawing the up and down. We've got like a pinky purple chameleon coming off. It's very nice. So this was Ayush paper, 100 GSM paper, made in India. What I'm going to do is move this out of the way. Just dropping in to interrupt your regular programming. Would you like to help support the channel? If so, please consider joining as a member. As a member, you'll get early access to my videos. I normally upload them a couple of days before they go out, and as soon as they're uploaded, they'll be released to members. There'll also be a shout out at the end of the videos, and then as we get the members coming in, we'll actually chat among ourselves and work out what other perks, what other things you'd like me to add in. You know, would you like maybe a monthly live chat just for members? All down to us. So please, if you can, consider joining the channel. A link will be in the description down below. And I'm going to fetch in this notebook. This was made for me by one of my subscribers, Chris. And this is Burroughs paper, and it's 170 GSM paper. And what I thought, because I filled that A4 page, is would do our sentences in here. So what I'm going to do with each pen, I'm going to write a sentence, and whilst I'm writing that sentence, I'll have the mic down near the page so you can hear the pen writing. We'll start then with the platypus. Wow, that's virtually whispering at me. I'm hoping the mic caught that because that sounds really, really nice. Fairly smooth, not a lot of tactileness to it, but that audible feedback, wow. We'll go for the Just Turnings Mimas. Very similar, got that lovely whispering sound coming from there. Very similar, maybe a tiny bit smoother, but we're going from a broad down to a medium nib here. Next one we've got, again from Just Turnings, is the Golden Blue Jay Enceladus. What a beautiful sound there. Again, this is more property of the paper. The paper, I'm not sure if it's coated, but it's exceptionally smooth. Really enjoying this. I do like here, I don't know if you can see this on the camera, where I caught a little bit of that green from the previous sentence, and it's come down into the D of Wizards on that second set of sentences. So now we've got that pen below. Another one here where I caught a bit of the purple. I do like the way that when they mix like that, it's just adding character, isn't it, to your writing? But again, beautiful whispering noise. Next up, we've got the Just Turnings Enceladus in Elvenwood. It's interesting with that one. This was the Cypress nib, and it sounded a lot quieter. And it actually felt like I was having to fight the nib. I was having to pull the nib more when I was writing than I was with the Joho ones. So yeah, that's quite an interesting feeling, that. And remember, this is a broad, the same as this, the same as this, the same as this. This one's a medium. So the line that I'm seeing from this Cypress nib, a lot thinner than what I'm seeing from the Yoho nibs. Just going to move the page up. Next up, the Cari. So as I've said with this one, it's very low in ink, so I've just tried to prime the feed again. Just managed to squeeze enough there out to get the full sentence out. Very scratchy. I did expect that though, because as I say, I'm slowly working on the nib myself. It wasn't scratchy when I got it. It's something I've introduced as I've been trying to increase the wetness of the pen. Again, it's a broad nib, so we're getting a finer line at the moment, which is part of the reason why I'm working on the nib. So finally, again, another pen with next to no ink. We've got that Pens by Casey. Another gorgeous writer there. Again, sounds very similar to the other Yo-Ho nibs that I've got. I do like the line on this one. I think that extra width going down, that stubbiness, makes such a difference to the writing. Let's swap over and take one final look at the pens. I've brought back in the Ayush paper. So the pens, we've got the Platypus Model 10 with Diamine Spruce. We've got the Just Turnings Mimas in black copper with Diamine Vintage Copper. See if I can stop that rolling. We've got the Just Turnings Enceladus in Golden Blue Jay with Diamine Rainbow's End. We've got the That Pen Bloke fountain pen with Diamine Yuletide. We've got a Just Turnings Enceladus with Elvenwood. It's resin, it's not wood. I want to stress that. We've got the Cari Hybrid with Diamine Spiced Apple. And we've got the Pens by Casey Mokuzai with Diamine Bar Humbug. If I could only keep one, which one would it be? I want to say the Pens by Casey, but I do love the Elvenwood. I love the name. I love the material. I love the finish. What I may do though, and I may try this at some later stage, is swap the nib, maybe even put that stub nib in there. I'll get some other cypress nibs to try in there, maybe even a cypress stub nib. So they're my thoughts for Australia Day on my current Australian handmade pens. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. What are your thoughts on these pens? Any of them jump out to you as one that you really like? Please drop your comments down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit that thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.